Sanctuary cities have had enough. Chicago residents are giving their woke mayor, Brandon Johnson, an earful for prioritizing illegal immigrants over struggling Americans while raising their taxes. Some of the folks even rooting for President-elect Trump. Watch this.
Trump, Tom Homan, make an example at this right here first. Please come here first, because you know what? We're going to help you.
And you so strong about protecting those aliens, but you won't do nothing for the U.S. citizens.
Mayor Johnson's leadership can be defined by demagoguery, fueled by progressive rhetoric and driven by a divisive agenda that plays to the lowest common denominator.
Here you are with another gritty property tax hike, trying to push the have-nots to house your precious illegal immigrants. You told Trump you ain't gonna blink? Well, we ain't either.
Well, so, Dana, when you look at things like that, you start to think that this sort of new political movement that Donald Trump has put together could possibly be lasting.
Well, we talked about consequences
in
the A block. I mean, there are consequences for bad policies and bad playbooks. So it's bizarre to watch. Like, imagine if the Bengals rewatched all the tapes from their season and said, oh, that wasn't so bad. We'll run the exact same plays next year. Bill Hemmer's going to have a heart attack. You can't do that to him. Just like you can't do this to the people of Chicago. It is so obvious that they're desperate. And there's no time like right now to be willing to change policy. Look at Eric Adams of New York. Now, he asked for a change in the sanctuary policy a couple of years ago, and the city council said, we can't possibly do that, and they just blew him off. Now, the timing is perfect to say, we're going to cooperate with ICE. Who's going to complain? Who is going to complain? And the thing is that if you do care about the lawful immigrant, the one who is here doing the right thing, going through the process, trying to make sure that they stay square with the law, then the best thing you could do is to cooperate with ICE, because there are 1.4 million immigrants who are already designated for deportation because they have committed crimes or they're here illegally, or they were committed crimes in their country of origin. So I think that it's exciting to see people going to a city council meeting saying, we actually are going to stand up for ourselves. But I also say to the mayors, like, why not just be for what's going to happen and do it?
Right. So, Jesse, in New York, one of the problems that Eric Adams has is he says that it's hard to get the city council to go along with some of the stuff. But he's reached out to Tom Homan. He name-checked Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, says Google them and look at what they used to say about criminals and name-check them to say we need to deport illegal aliens who are criminals.
Yeah, he was the deporter in chief. And I'll be using that line on Richard for days. The guy needs help. He also needs a pardon, which is why maybe he's asking Trump to give him a hand here. But it's fine. Give him the pardon. We'll give you ICE. We'll cut a deal. One of the reasons he probably got indicted was because he criticized Joe Biden about the migration crisis. Now, this guy in Chicago is a fool. He has a 14% approval rating.
Right.
If I had a 14% approval rating, I would do the opposite of everything I had done before. Cook County is going to the right, and this idiot is going to the left. I don't understand this guy. Violent crime homicides have been hit decades highs since Biden opened the border in Chicago, and they cooperate with the feds all the time. They have fugitive task forces. They have sex trafficking, guns, gangs. They work with ICE, U.S. Marshals, all these federal agencies, DEA, ATF. All he needs to do is extend a hand and not act like some crazy wacko.
So I haven't checked lately. What is your approval rating right now?
It's in the mid-30s.
So, Richard, so double Brandon Johnson.
Yes.
Richard, over the weekend, Chicago PD warned their officers to be careful of these criminal aliens. But then the city itself is saying that they refuse to deport the Trendaragua and other criminal gangs. How can you expect not to get punished over that?
Well, listen, I think that folks who are in this country illegally, who are committing crimes, should be removed from this country, period. I do think it's worth pointing out for the sake of history that both Mayor Eric Adams as well as Mayor Brandon Johnson did over and over again lobby the Biden administration to fix the problem on the southern border. There were trips that Brandon Johnson took to the White House saying, listen, something has to be done. I think we can acknowledge that both things can be true at the same time. I think one can acknowledge that some of the sanctuary city policies that were passed by many of these mayors, the sanctuary city policy in Chicago was passed before Brandon was even the mayor to begin with, and well as the one in New York was passed before Eric Adams was the mayor. Those policies might not have been the best policy. But we also must acknowledge in this moment, that the ideal of busing undocumented, unscreened individuals into the interior of the country wasn't necessarily the best policy, especially given the fact that now Texas is saying, well, we have 14 acres of land, we want them back so we can make some money off of them, which is like the walking hypocrisy in the world in which you bust them to the interior of the country, now we don't know where they are for many of these individuals. So I think we can acknowledge that two policies might not be the best policy, and that could also be true.
So Judge Richard
I didn't understand that, but go ahead.
No,
Richard
I can
said
explain
that
it
the
for you
sanctuary cities
if you want.
policies that brought all of these illegal aliens to the country may not have been the best.
Let me tell you something. This is time for the American people to have a come to Jesus moment with these pompous, arrogant, condescending, liberals who want to take our hard-earned tax dollars and give them to illegals and protect them from their criminal status and from jails and from deportation so that they can be considered what? I don't know, a saint? I'm not sure what they're looking for. And this is really why you're losing people like people in the inner city, why you've got Chicago. People in Chicago, they don't want their after-school programs ended and all of these buildings that they use their school programs, after-school programs, so that illegals can live there. What are illegals doing? Okay, we're committing crimes in sanctuary cities. Well, if they are caught, we got to get them a translator. We have to get them a lawyer. We have to spend our law enforcement time. And in New York City, they're telling us that 75% of the crime in New York City and Manhattan is committed by illegals. But they're taking jobs off the books. They're not paying taxes. And there's unfortunately a lot of crime, especially with those who are MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. So people like this mayor in Chicago, he wants $300 million to tax the people of Chicago because of the migrants, all right? And when they went ballistic, he said, well, I'll lower it to $60 million. And then you have fools like Gavin Newsom who says, I want to Trump-proof the state. You idiot. You lost $24 billion for the homeless crisis. You don't know where that money went. And now you want to, I think he wants to spend $25 million to get lawyers to protect the illegals who are on a deportation list from being deported. It's time that America said, enough of you. I don't know who you're trying to benefit, but you're not trying to benefit the American people. And there ain't two sides to that.
I mean, I think there's a lot of
No,
misinformation
that wasn't
there,
a
but
question.
hey.
That was a comment.
Mine was a comment too, but it's okay.
Gotta go.